Welcome CSC 121 to part 3 of our EX8 rock, paper, scissors. My way, the way I'm doing it, doesn't mean it's the way you're doing it. And what I got to so far was the fact that we could go through and make all our choices, and we could keep replaying until we win. And it doesn't take that long to win with only 3 choices here. So, that's okay. But what we'll do is we'll actually learn to keep score. And there's different ways to keep score. And one way is to kind of make a counter. Now we're going to put counter, I'll put them right at the top here, right after our import statement, and I'll put one that says U points, and I'll use underscore, and I'll set them to be 0 to start. That's our variable declaration, and our assignment is 0. And then I'll just copy this, and I'll call this comp for computer, because that's the one. And basically, they're going to get points when they win. So whoever wins gets points. Nobody gets points for tying, but whoever wins gets points. We're not going to subtract any points or anything like that. So we're just going to increment points as we go. So what you could do here is, whichever one you want to do here, I could do the U points first, and I'll copy this, and whatever makes sense, and just look for the win, and I'll put it, I guess, after the print statement, and I'll put U points, and I'll do that plus or equals 1. That means we're incrementing. That means we get a point, and I'm getting an issue here, local variable, and I'll talk about that later. We'll have to fix that, and I'll just copy that. Anywhere I get a win, anywhere it says you win, I'm going to put U points, and there should be 3 places where I win, and then I'll find the computer ones. Anywhere where they win, where I lose, I'm going to put that, and I'll put that before it replays. And I'll call this comp points, because that's what it is. That's the variable that's up here, comp points. Make sure they're the same. So now I have comp points, and I'm going to copy this and look for any place where there's a lose, and I'm putting it before it reruns the function. And then down here, for if there's a lose, I'll put it there before it recalls the function. So it's adding up points. Now, we got to do something with those points. And we're having issues with these points here, comp points and U points, where it's getting these wavy underlines here because it's saying, if you put your mouse there, it's saying local scope. And what we could do to fix this, because we have kind of global variables outside here, but then we're going to be changing them inside the function. So to do that, we could go right up at the top here after this initial stuff here, and I'm just going to put the keyword global, lowercase, and you don't have to put equals. You just have to put global, and I'm going to put U points, and you could put them together with a, I could just put comma, and that way I could do that. I could set them both to global, comp points. Okay, then it should get rid of that wavy line. It should be okay just by putting that global, because that's allowing it to, it's kind of making it global inside here. So that way, and we don't want to put the 0, we could have put the U points equals 0, comp points equals 0 inside here, but what happens inside here is that they're going to basically, every time the function runs, it's going to reset it to 0 at the beginning. So this way, it's going to keep adding to it as we go. So it should make those numbers keep going up. And you could always test that and write a print and see what points are. But right now, we basically have our win-lose points. Now, we're going to have to figure out something that does something with these points, not just adds them up, but stops the game after you win after you get these points, because these points really mean nothing if you're just getting them and they're just adding up. So my idea was a best of 3. And once you get to 3, you win and the game's over. So what we could do here, and I'll put this after here, I'm going to make a new function, because instead of adding all kinds of different criteria and conditions that's going to make this long function here more complicated, let's just make another function. You can see how easy it was just to throw this in here instead of making different conditions. So I'm going to make a new function, and I'm going to call it checkpoints. I'll use a def, and I'll use checkpoints, and we'll do a condition that checks for the point level. And what's going to happen here, we could put an if in here, and the way I did it initially, I did like an if. Here's my one down here, not to cheat, but I went down here and I said if comp points, or if either one, that's why I use an or here. So I could copy this because this makes sense. I could go here and you can see what's happening. If comp points equals 3, or U points. So if somebody gets to 3 points, what's going to happen? Well, the game's going to be over, hopefully. That's the idea. And then we could put a print statement in here that says that. We could put print, and we'll put game over, And then we could even put like a score here. I think what I did is I put like a new line statement. I put new line so that it would actually start a new line. And then I'm going to put score, and I put U to start. And then in curly brackets, we could use an F statement here. I'll put the F in because I always forget that. In curly brackets here, what we'll do is we'll put the U in here is basically U point, because if we're keeping score, it's going to be the points. So we're going to put U points. That'll be tallying up the points. So we'll put U points in here, and then I'll just put a space, and I'll put computer, and then in curly brackets, and I'll put comp points, because that'll just print out the points. And remember, I'm putting them in curly brackets. I have my F statement here, and that's what should happen. Now we're going to have to find a way to end this, because if we have an else here, it might keep playing, but we'll start with that first, and that just plays out the score. So game over. Then what we're going to do here is we have an else. So else is if we didn't get to 3 points. And this is where you could use a while, and count up to 3, but I just use an if here. So else is just going to be if it's not at 3 points. If nobody has 3 points, we're just going to put an else. And all that we're going to do for the else is just kind of reprint out the score, and then also try again. So I'm going to go here, I'll print this out here, and it won't say game over. It'll actually just say, the score. And then I forgot, I think I put some kind of new line after this. I'll throw it in now just to see what happens. Thought I put a new line to separate it from the next prompt. Now what we could do here, this is kind of interesting, and this is something you figure out as you're doing it, is basically what's going to happen is after this means nobody's at 3 points yet. That means you could play again. Then why couldn't we just do this again? Why couldn't we just put user choice in here? Instead of putting a prompt or something, we'll just put user choice. Now if user choice is in here, it's already built in here, then why not just use checkpoints and run checkpoints for every time I have user choice? And I would have to do that for everyone, but I could throw that in now for everyone. So every time anybody does anything, we could put checkpoints in here, because that'll do that. And then that basically keeps us from having to put another, we could put checkpoints in here, but if we put this in here, then it's already in there. And so let's try that. I'm just going to copy this, and I'll copy that, and basically I'll just run this. It'll actually get called. I say run, but it'll get called here. So if we tie, we're going to run that here. Now we still have to add the points. So I'm going to put that here. So you're going to leave the points here. Now this one, even if you win, we still have to put this in here. So they're all going to need it this time, because we got to check the points every time. So even when there's, and I'll replace, if it says user choice, I'll replace it, because I don't need user choice because it's already built into the one I have. Here I'll put this at the end, and here I'll replace it. All right, now that I put in all these checkpoints in here, let's see what happens. We'll try it out. See if any errors, anything goes wrong. I'll put in R. It says you win, rock crushes scissors, score you won, computer 0, and then it prompts again. So that new line created this space in here. So that worked out fine. That was that new line I put in here. So it actually put a space between the prompts. So I'll try rock again, see if I can continue my streak. You win 2-0. So I got one more to win here, and I'll try rock again. It's been working so far. Keep going with it. And I lose, so it's 2-1. Should I change to paper or scissors, or stick with rock? I'm going to stick with rock. And game over, I won, and it ends. So that's good. It says score U3 computer, and it ends there. Let's try losing, see what happens. And this time I'm going to choose rock. I'll try scissors. And there's a tie. I'll try it again. And I lost. I'm down. Now I won. Now I lost. I'm down 2-1. That was a tie. All right, you lose. Game over. You won, computer 3. So that's the way it ended. So I think that's okay. I have to look at my other one. I think I put a return value in to kind of stop it, but maybe I don't need it. I think in my earlier one, I put a return to stop the function because I thought it kept prompting me to go there, but it doesn't appear that I need it. I don't think so, because now that the game's over, it seems to stop and it just shows the score. So there was some reason I thought I need a return, but if you did need to stop a function, you could use a return in there. Remember, a break actually breaks a loop, a for loop or while loop. It will not break this, but return stops the function. I had that in there, but it doesn't appear I need it. So I think it's okay so far. So I think what I have is so far. So I'm going to stop here with part 3, and then I'll just troubleshoot a little bit, and we'll see if there's anything else we might need to add to it, but that should be the bulk of it. So I think we're pretty good with 3 parts here. If there's a part 4, it might just be cleaning up some things that we might have missed here.